Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Peak Season Podcast. This is the show where spreadsheets are always welcome. Welcome back, Tyler.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks. Yeah. So we identified some properties in Kentucky region, found one property that we were kind of looking more into, and we analyzed that using STR insights, air DNA data, kind of help understand what kind of comps we're looking at, what's good data versus bad data. And now that we have some quality data, we're gonna look at underwriting this property and seeing, is it a cash flowing property and would this be worthy of purchasing?
And just to clarify, that was in our last episode. So if you haven't heard that yet, go back one, then come back here.
Correct.
Yes. All right, cool. So I am going to pull up a blank performer now. We're going to fill it out for this property. Let's see. Here we go. So now we are looking at what we are calling the peak season performa. And I don't want to take full credit for this because as we mentioned in our last episode, I started doing this with STR Insights and Kenny Bedwell, and I started using his performa. And then slowly and surely, I built onto that spreadsheet and I added things that I liked. And I was using ChatGPT to come up with all these crazy formulas. And I had this Frankenstein of a performa built out. And then as I realized that like I kind of wanted to have my own thing and share it with other people, and I share it with clients I work with and stuff now. So this is basically a modified version of Kenny's spreadsheet. So I would highly recommend going and checking out his too, because his is really good. But this just has another tab and it has some stuff if we're doing value adds and things like that I like to do. So at its core, this is a lot like his, where it has these good, better projections, but it's been tailored just a little bit for how I like to underwrite properties. So let's get right into it, Tyler.
Perfect.
Anything else to add before we get started?
No, let's get into it.
Cool. Oh, and I should mention too, follow us on Instagram and shoot me a DM. I will gladly share this with you. I'll send you a link.
Perfect.
Cool. All right. So the way this spreadsheet works, and the same way that a lot of these ones do that you find on the internet, is you only edit certain fields. So I am going to only edit blue text in this specific performa. So we have a $299,000 property, right?
That's correct.
All right. Let's say we pay sticker for it. $299. We've got 3% closing costs. Oh, that's not right. It's not $299. $299. There we go. That looks better. So we've got about $9,000 in closing costs if we're at 3%, which I think is about right. So these next two fields, we have renovation and furnishings, holding costs, and setup. So this is all the money that we're going to put into this property before we go live. And what we also want to include in here is our cost to travel there. Time where whatever it's going to cost us to set this place up, this is where it goes. So let's say it takes 3 months to set this thing up. We're paying the mortgage for 3 months, all the holding costs and things of that nature. So that's probably what, 15 grand roughly just to hold the thing. Yeah. So I'm going to put that for now as a placeholder in our holding and setup. What do you think for renovation and furnishings? I like to go by about $10,000 a bedroom.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you include though? Would you include? What about the garage? Like looking at the game room, speakeasy. I think I'd add a little bit more to that as well. Just thinking about that space.
Yeah, the way I like to forecast it is 10,000 a bedroom, and that includes like one living area and your kitchen.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I say 10,000 a bedroom, that doesn't necessarily mean that like I'm going to put $10,000 into
100%.
nightstands and a bed and all that. It's just it's just
That's one
enough to cover
bedroom.
like basically furnishing a house. That's going to have like your standard dining room table, a couch, a love seat, or a sectional, something for the living room, TVs for the bedrooms, things like that. So I would probably say so we've got a 4-bedroom, so we'd be at 40 for that. Let's add another 10 for the speakeasy because we want to do it right. And probably another 10 in a hot tub or outdoor amenities, hot tub, fire pit, things like that.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I think that's good because to your point, I think we can be under that. I would just I'd rather project higher costs and
right.
come in a little lower, right?
Right. Another thing that's going to factor in here is, are we trying to get live like in a week? or 10 days? Or are we going to be doing this work ourselves, driving back and forth? There's no right or wrong answer there. I've done it both ways, but I would say that it's almost always going to be to your benefit if there's not a renovation going on, just to pay somebody to get it done and get live.
Exactly.
Right? We
Time is
don't need
money.
to be like, yeah, time is money. Like if it's costing you a booking because you wanted to go there and put together Adirondack chairs all weekend, then that is just a total like negative cash flow proposition for you.
Exactly.
Yep. So we are definitely being probably a little aggressive on this side, but we've got 60K for renovations and furnishings, $50,000 for holding and setup. So our total out of pocket in this case is, assuming we put 15% down. You want to put 15% down, or should we do
15
20?
sounds good.
15.
Well, we'll do 15.
All right, 15% down. So our total out of pocket going into this is going to be 128.8, and that's on a $300,000 property roughly.
Good.
So we've got 15 already set in this column. Interest rate 7.25. I think that's fair. We're actually probably a little bit lower right now.
Yeah.
Let's do 6.99. So that's going to put and amortize over 30 years. So our monthly payment is going to be 16.89 on this place.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So now our next column, we've got property variables. This just one unit. So if you're doing a duplex or something, you would put two there, but most times it's going to be one. Number of turns per month, and that's going to impact things further down the spreadsheet. And then annual maintenance. Now, this is a newer property. So I would say typically I'm looking at 5 to 10% annual maintenance, and that's going to be of your gross revenue. So higher revenue properties typically have more in maintenance because you're keeping a higher standard, or maybe there's more volume coming through them, or whatever that looks like. I typically would at it with a new construction, I underwrite 5%. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that's fine.
So just like
I,
looking big picture, if we were doing
I
100,000,
think I'm closer to 3 on a newer property, to be honest with you. But
okay,
that's just me personally, based off my experience with the cabin. I think
yeah,
it's
okay,
pretty low.
cool. Well, I mean, I think what's 5% of 100K is $5,000.
5,000. Yeah.
So we're looking at $400 to $500 a month in that case, and maintenance costs.
Mhm.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you're spending it. It could be part of your CapEx fund. So it could be a
That's a
portion
good
of
point.
that. Maybe 1 or 2% of that is going towards just holding money for a new furnace or whatever.
Yeah. That's a
So
good
anyway,
point.
we've got that captured with 5% there. I don't think it's going to make or break this thing.
No.
So our next thing is where we're looking at scenarios here, and we're doing an average daily rate, a cleaning fee, and our nights booked per month, which is going to give us an occupancy rate. So what sort of occupancy were we seeing on those places, Tyler? Like 50 to 60?
Yeah. Let me go back here. I'd say uh, average was about 56% occupancy.
Okay, so that's about 17 nights a month, and I'm just going to copy that all the way across here so we're not changing a bunch of variables.
Yep.
So we're forecasting 56% occupancy. I've got a cleaning fee at 265. I think that's probably right around what you do, depending on, I don't know how they do hot tubs there, if you're gonna have to pay a different hot tub guy.
Right. Well, and again, this would kind of go back in this if we wanted to really get super granular. Like we could go on to these listings, see what they're paying,
Right,
and obviously you're already kind of communicating with cleaners, starting to get some of those quotes.
right. So I think let's take a quick pause and just like, this is what I'm looking at before I make an offer on a property. And it's important to note that like when you make an offer on a property, it doesn't mean you're buying it. It means that you're like, I'm making offers on properties a lot of times before I see them for the first time. It's not like buying your house. Like in investment real estate, it's not worth spending the money to go tour a property when you don't have it under contract necessarily, unless you're going and just looking at a bunch in one day or something.
Right.
So this is like a, initial like, hey, does this thing pencil out? And then once I'm starting to make offers on it, that's when I'm calling cleaners. I'm calling handymen. I'm looking at how are we actually like I'm finding a hot tub guy and having him give me a quote, and just figuring out like really granularly like what is this place going to cost me? I'm starting to get insurance quotes, things like that. But right now, it's just we're looking at it. for the first time. All right. So in our income, so right now I've got, let's do 225 for a average daily rate. So, I'm going to take that down a little bit. So 225 or 199 for our good scenario puts us at 62 of total income. And I think I had our low end at 63. What
Yep.
do you think about that, Tyler?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. So that's our good. So that would be like if this thing was
Your
kind of
low
a
end.
flop,
Yep.
right? Like I would not be happy with that, but I want to see is it financial ruin if we only get this much?
Right.
So for our better scenario, what do you think about 250 a night?
What does that put us at annual?
70
That's perfect. Yep.
cool. And then for our best, let's do 300. That puts us at 88.
That's good. We said 90 was kind of high end, so I think 88's good.
Okay. Cool. So when you look at the cleaning income tab here, that comes from up at the top where we said we get to that later in number of turns per month. So we're forecasting 4 turns per month. We'll just say it's going to book out every weekend. And this cleaning fee times 4 turns per month. So 265 times 4 is 1,060. So that's factoring into our income equation, even though it's sort of a pass through, depending on how you view it. It's an income and an expense. So we want to track it. All right. So now we're getting into our expenses. Maintenance and repair, that came from up top, 62 a month. HOA, do we have an HOA there? I don't think so.
No HOA.
All right, I'm going to delete that. Deleting, I'm going to put 0. Tech stack, $50 a month. So that's
Sounds
going to
good.
be $30 for hospitable and $20 for Price Labs on the low end. There's much more that we could do, but I think 50 is a good starting point. Pest control, just guesstimate 50.
Yeah.
Utilities, 300. Stop me if you think I'm wrong anywhere, Tyler, if you think I'm over or
Okay.
under. But it's a smaller house, so 300 for utilities.
Yep.
Work should be good. I got 120 for internet. Might be lower, but I think that's on the high end, probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Insurance. Sorry, good.
No, I don't know about you, but I've never paid 120 for internet. I'm more like 80.
I paid 120 for internet in Tennessee.
Did you?
Yeah. Household supplies. So that's going to be consumables like paper towels, coffee pods, soaps, things like that. I've got it 75 a month. That might be slightly low depending on how much we're booking.
Right.
Another thing we could do is say, well, 75 on the low end. So if we're getting 199 a night people in there, I'm not going to add as many amenities. But if we're getting higher rates, that might be something where I'm like, okay, I'm going to maybe put some premium coffee in there. Let's make sure that they have tissues and
Exactly.
paper towels and
Right.
right, things like that.
The 3 ply versus ply toilet paper.
Right. So I did change that for our good, better, best scenario to 75,
Yeah.
100, and 125.
Okay.
Just because if we're getting premium rates, I'm going to provide a premium experience and an extra
Agreed.
25 a month or 50 a month on those consumables is probably well worth it. Property taxes, 3,600 a year. Do you think that's legit?
Yeah, I think that's a good let's see what they let me just check real quick if it had that date.
That
Yeah,
was new
I think it's
construction, so probably not on that home.
I don't think yeah, and I so what I'm seeing property taxes are pretty low here. Uh, so I'm just pulling up another comp real quick just to see in that same price point. Sorry, my computer is just real slow right now. Yeah. I mean, 2023 taxes on this other property were 1219. So we're pretty
Wow. So we're probably high then.
yeah.
So I'll
You
do
can still err
150.
on the side of caution and maybe put 2 grand. Maybe it but
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna be that high.
So 165 a month would be just under 2 grand. Marketing, let's just say we got $50 in marketing.
Yeah. Running
Maybe
some
doing some
Facebook
Facebook
promos.
ads. Maybe we're running an email list. Just something,
Yep.
right? Miscellaneous fees. Can you think of anything else we need to include in there?
Did we in our expenses for like electricity and all that, did we include, and I don't know, Luke, because I don't own one. My sauna is pretty self sufficient, but if we're adding that hot tub, what about like, I don't know, chemicals or uh, whatever it is that you have to use to maintain a hot tub? That
So
one
I
I
went
don't.
high on the cleaning fee, kind of factoring is because typically a cleaner is going
Okay.
to do all that, or your hot
Okay.
tub person.
Okay.
Now we could just say, yeah. Typically, I would include that in the cleaning fee, though.
Okay. Got it.
And I'm gonna guess labor is pretty cheap around there. So I mean, you're probably looking at, you know, I think our cleaning fee would cover that,
Okay.
but that could be one of our blind spots that we need to factor in and make sure that we're taking that into account.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
to be totally honest, you would be. I mean, it's always good to, of course, be very very pessimistic with these things because expenses always end up being higher than you think.
Yep. Yeah.
And the best place just to change that up here is in your annual maintenance cost. Instead of going through and changing all these things, just say like, man, I think I'm low on that. Oh, well, I'm going to change this to 6% instead of 5.
Right. Right.
Right. All right. So I just changed it to 6. All right. So now let's look at our results. All right. So on our good, better, best scenario, for our good scenario, which again was 62.8, we are looking at a annual cash flow of $4,556. Cash on cash return 3.5%.
Yikers. That is not good.
Yeah, not great. If you can get 75K out of it, we would cash flow 14.4 a year or 11.2% cash on cash.
Okay.
And if we can get to 88K, it starts to look a lot better. 24K a year of cash flow with 18.7% cash on cash.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know that on this specific property, you're going to realistically be in that 88. I think 75 is kind of that realistic number, even with the furnishings that you're doing. I think that other property just had a little bit that was doing 75, just had a little bit different vibe, different uniqueness that this house just can't do, right? Because it's that new construction. And although that's great, it's sometimes, and Luke and I talked about it in our first episode here, you don't always want to create a property that's the same as the house that you live in. And so
Hmm.
all this tells me is that there's definitely opportunity in this area, right? I think based on what we saw, some of the comps and what we could do here, is this going to be that I'm calling the realtor right right after this call and saying, "Hey, I want to buy it." No.
No. And this property for me is not one that I would get excited about either. So that pushes it out of the buy box for me also, just because I like to run
Right.
properties that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But
Like a
yeah, I
Kool-Aid.
mean, I would need much more income to be into this property. Now, let's say you were excited about this property for whatever reason. Like, let's say, like, Tyler, you want to retire in this area and you just want to buy this thing and you want to make the numbers look right for you now as an investment. I think you could go up here and say, well, let's put 10% down and call it a second home loan.
Yeah.
All right. So that changes our out of pocket and puts it down to 113,000.
Right.
And then that pushes our cash on cash to being a little bit better, to 11 on the middle of the road where it's at 11.6%.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or let's say, okay, I'm going to cap my budget at 40K for renovation and furnishings because I'm going to do a bunch of the work myself. I'm taking 2 weeks off work. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're at 14% for that middle. So we're getting closer to that coveted 15% cash on cash. And on the high end, it looks like 24. But what's happening right here, and you're seeing it live, is we are talking ourselves into a property that didn't pencil out well in the first place.
Right.
Right. So you shouldn't be able to bend your mind into making something work. It should be very, very obvious. And there's so many properties out there that are. Don't twist yourself into knots trying to make
Yeah.
something work.
Yeah. Don't settle for anything. If you kind of are like, and to Luke's point, I think that's the big thing for me. Like when I'm looking at properties, I want something that I really want to visit and go go be at and stay in. And I want something that I'm proud to take my family and friends to. And this property for me just doesn't do it, right? It's a place to sleep and that's about it. And that's okay for a lot of people and what they're trying to do. But personally, it's just not how I purchase homes and investment properties. And I'm not going to sit there and try to pencil numbers. If it didn't come out in the first place, it's definitely not worth it. And if it's a place that you absolutely love on the other end of the spectrum, don't get too excited and too invested in it to where you are penciling these to be almost unrealistic. You can tweak some things, but also be very true and honest with yourself and realistic with what the numbers produce. And you have to be okay with that, right? When I bought White Birch, I'll be honest, the numbers, when I was doing this, I wasn't initially projecting what I was. I did, I think, a little bit later once I knew what kind of property how much I was investing into it. And that kind of changed my avatar and my projected numbers. But, it was looking at like a 12.5% cash on cash. And that wasn't like the best, but it wasn't the worst. Right. But I was okay with that because I knew that that's a place I'm going to go quite often and eventually retire.
Absolutely. So just to look into this perform a little bit more in case you do DM me and get a copy of it. On this second tab, I've got one called 5-year projections. And what this does is we factor in a value add investment. So let's say that the money that we put into this for whatever reason added value to the property. In this case that we just underwrote, they don't. It's just decorations. But let's say that money we put in added, say, 1,000 in value to the property because we added a bedroom or a bathroom or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're looking at annual appreciation. You can change this, but market average of 5%. So I have loan amortization that gets figured out here. And then I have the 5-year property value and your 5-year loan balance and 5-year equity. So this property, assuming we added $60,000 in value, we would have $204,000 in equity in 5 years, which is kind of a cool metric. And it works. This tab's a lot more useful when you're doing value adds, but it's there.
No, I think it's a lot of investors, maybe they're looking at this as just the next investment and it's not necessarily something they're going to keep forever. That second tab is great though, right? Because it still shows a bigger picture of, when you're buying these houses, guys, don't forget that, we're looking for cash flow while we have them, but we're also looking for appreciation and or equity in the home. So that way, if we're going to sell it, we've made additional income and now, maybe we're 1031ing that and buying a bigger, better property.
For sure. Yeah. So, Tyler, I think this was a cool episode because you and I were a little more bullish on this property when we first came in. Even though it wasn't unique, I thought the numbers were going to look better.
I did too. I really did too. I thought they were going to look a lot better. I think we got
kind of enchanted by that low purchase price.
Yeah. I think, again, we're also trying to say, well, if we want to compete in that 70 to some of these $100,000 houses, you're going to have to spend some money. And unfortunately, in these new construction homes, I mean, although there's not a lot of work to be done inside, you're still painting, you're still doing fixtures, but, staging a home and putting things into it is not cheap. And again, to that lesson learned is be realistic with yourself. Don't overdo it, but don't underdo it either. Don't say your budget's 10 grand when it's going to be at least 40. You know what I mean?
For sure. And also like just as we looked further into this one, I think the type of guest that a place like this is going to bring is not going to be one that's necessarily easy to host either, because they're basically looking for a deal because they're in this type of property already. They're not looking for a premium experience, right? They're just looking for a place to stay. So they're going to be price sensitive, which I would prefer to, if I can help it, to not be working with people that are too price sensitive.
Agreed.
Just from a hosting standpoint.
No, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Cool. All right. Well, once again, if you want a copy of this Performa, go ahead and follow us on Instagram. Shoot us a DM, and we will respond with a link. And Tyler, you got anything else for this episode?
Instagram's the Peak Season Podcast, right? So
yeah, Peak Season Podcast Instagram.
And appreciate your partnership and tuning in, and stay tuned for the next greatest episode.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.